I'm kind of depressed now. It's like,
More wine?
where is our wine? We have coffee. Yeah, Mandeep, that whole waiting for Superman thing makes me sad. You didn't give us the answer. How are we gonna? Oh, okay. You did disrupt us. Are you ready? So one of the things that Mandeep made me think of is that it's about time. You get 65,000 minutes in a school year, I think it is, but it's very limited number of minutes that you get a child that they have for childhood. And increasingly, there's 14 platforms competing for every one of those minutes. And so it's a matter of constants. So just put the constants together and you kind of figure out, we want to empower kids, as Claire said. We want to give them as much magic as possible, empowerment, so that they can develop and have a rich childhood, right? Which is why we want good apps. So this is great to have a 365, plus 20 days snapshot of the growth of a company and where were you last year and so on. And so it's great to check in with Duck Duck Moose. Carolyn.
Thank you. Can I put it in?
Yeah, sure.
Co-founder of Duck Duck Moose. Three of us founded Duck Duck Moose in the fall of 2008 to create iPhone apps for children. And at the time, we had several people ask us, who is going to hand over such an expensive device to a young child? We now have 7 titles on the App Store, 7 iPhone apps, and 6 iPad apps. And a lot has changed on the App Store in the last year. There are over 500,000 apps, and I think more than 35,000 of those are geared towards kids. So we're still a small team at Duck Duck Moose, and we love having a small, nimble team where all 3 of us can be completely involved in the creative process and business. Nikki is a graphic designer and illustrator. I have a background in architecture and business, and Michael is a software. We are self-funded and bootstrapped Duck Duck Moose, and Michael and I are trained as classical musicians and produce the music in the class. So I wanted to give you a timeline showing where we've been in the last few years. We started with 3 Nursery line apps. Wheels on the Bus was our first app that launched in January 2009, and I think it's still a top 5 educational app. Then we launched Old MacDonald and the Food Finder. In 2010, in March, the first iPad came out, and we launched our first iPad app, which is an interactive alphabet app where schools of fish form letters, numbers, and colors. Then we did an iPad version of Wheels on the Bus and an iPad version of Itsy Bitsy Spider, and launched Baba Black Sheep, which is a hidden object puzzle type game that they found. Later in the year, we created Park Math, which teaches early math concepts to young children. And our most recent title is Word Wagon, which teaches letter recognition, phonics, and spelling. And we finally launched an iPad version of Old MacDonald. Just launched the iPad version of Word Wagon earlier this week, and we are currently working on a music one. So in summary, we have 7 titles and 13 apps. Of the 13 apps, 5 are currently in the top 10 paid list if you look at the education and educational games categories, and all of them are in the top 25 paid list. So now I'm going to demo a couple of our most recent apps. I'll start with Park Math. So this is just the intro slide to get it going. You can just play with different things on the screen. At our daughter for. And you touch the blue bear to go on to the next screen. Oh, it's no, the music is fun.
Five, six,
So there are two levels in Park Math.
seven,
The first level goes up to
8,
20, and the second level goes up to 15.
9, 10,
Grab it.
11.
Going on to the next screen.
If 2 ducks climb up, how many will be at the top of the slide?
So this is the counting and addition activity.
1, 2, 3. Touch the blue number. 4. Excellent.
So when you get the right answer, all the ducks come down. And there's an equation at the bottom for older children who are ready for that.
If 2 ducks climb up, help the mice to balance their seesaw.
An activity to teach greater than or less than, and usually with more mice, there's different ways to solve this problem.
Nice work. If 2 apples fall down, how many? 1.
Subtract.
1. Found up.
In this app, there's different ways to navigate. You can either touch
If
the blue bear
1 apple falls down,
or you can touch the type, select the different screen.
if
The sorting.
sort the dogs from small to large.
You can sort by
Way to
size
go.
or different
Sort the
numbers.
numbers from small to large. Help me
pattern.
finish the pattern.
And if you get the wrong answer,
Oops.
it bounces back.
Super. Feed the hippo. Sit. Hot pepper. 1, 2,
Another counting activity.
3, 4, 5.
So those are the main elements of Park Math. I wanted to show you Word Wagon, which teaches letter recognition, phonics, and spelling. So there are different levels with the different activities. 4 different levels. The first one is letter recognition, then phonics, and different spelling. If you touch the Eiffel Tower button at the bottom, you can see a video telling the story of the characters that we have in this app, Mozzarella the mouse and Coco the Shrek. I will skip that for now and just go into the spelling. You can select any object on the conveyor belt.
Drag the letters to the right place. B,
So right now we're in a spelling mode, a higher level, so
B, A, D,
there's no letter hint.
L, D. Bread.
So here we're trying to show the phonics in a really visual way, not only showing the sounds of individual letters, but also the blends of letters and a lot of the exceptions. There are many language. And as you're spelling, you can also play with the characters.
Try blue for Coco.
Like
Oh, pickle juice. Pickle pie. Can you see me?
So there are a lot of things to
Where's
discover with
Mom?
the characters.
G, I, P.
As you go up to the bubble page, and there are more than 100 words in this app, and there are different categories of words. So here you can select the different categories of words. You can select uppercase and lowercase, and change the level. I'll go back down to animal. So each time you spell a word, you get a sticker. We found that these are really popular with children for the different
B, U, G, B, G, B. Excellent.
So every third word, you'll get a set of stars, and you can use those to construct a constellation. This can be on the simulator on the touch screen. Using a simulator later so you can get a better grasp.
It's a cat.
You can play around with the little. So that is Word Wagon. And so now, if everybody is okay with turning off Twitter for a second, turning off the video, look at the world through a child's eyes. This is one of the greatest things that we get to do, to rediscover the magic of childhood as we work on these apps and work with children. We observe how children play and try to follow those play patterns, as well as include humor and surprises that we know will resonate with children. On this page in Park Math, this has been a hit with kids because they love to feed animals and love to play with food. In Baba Black Sheep, we spent a lot of time refining each individual sheep that we showed and the different ba sound and how they were going to be loaded into a boat. It's a long story, Baba Black Sheep and Robo in a boat. But it seems like we got it right for this boy.
Do you want to hit another sheep? Touch another one.
So our second principle is all by myself. As I'm sure you've heard, young children love to do everything all by myself. So even though they're small, they have this deep desire to feel confident and they have this drive to be independent. So what this principle is about is designing experiences that are high in child control, Warren says, and child directed. We strive to design experiences that make children feel successful and that are fun. So this is the sticker page in WordWagon. We found that children love going back to this page, sometimes after each word, to see which one that they've accomplished and play with them. In Fish School, we designed an interactive way of teaching colors. So there's an ocean scene with lots of different fish, and no matter which fish you touch, if you touch an orange fish, for example, the whole screen will become orange. And so there's no way to fail at this activity. No matter which one you touch, there's some result, and something the child can learn from. And we've designed our app so that they work with even the youngest children as well as children with developmental delays. And this is an example of a boy who has some motor delays. Our third principle is deep interactive experiences. This is really core to what we do. We found that children are engaged by the more open-ended interactive experiences. These are interactions that require some decision-making, give children choices, and allow for more creativity. In Old MacDonald, there's this page where there is a dump truck where you can dump the dirt onto a pile of dirt, and then there's a bulldozer where you can take it away, so they can experiment with what makes the pile taller or shorter, and this is one of the pages that children spend the most time on in Old MacDonald. And in Itsy Bitsy Spider, we designed this app so that everything on the screen was interactive, so there's a result. For anything that you touch, there's a reaction. And we also included Easter eggs that are scattered throughout the app that you can collect with the spider and deliver to this spider web. And each of the Easter eggs plays a different note, so children can kind of rearrange them and use them as a sort of instrument on the screen. And I have a few videos of children using Itsy Bitsy Spider.
Yeah, iPad Spider, okay. Eggies, huh? There's the eggs. Huh? There he goes. Look at all those eggs. Okay, do it again.
So the different types of interactivity, children will come up with their own ways to play based on the tools that you give them. And this is an example of our daughter, actually, who, when she was 4, getting her baby sister to sing with her using the wheels on the bus, records your own voice feature. So our fourth principle is that play is a child's work. Children learn through playing, and they learn the most when they're having fun. So play is really the basis of all of our apps. In this play mode in Fish School, you can move all the fish around. You can make them swim faster or slower, and you can make them bigger or smaller. And this girl is playing with fish school, and she's learning as she's playing. She's actually singing the alphabet song. If you listen carefully, she's singing the next letter in the song. So after she sees a certain letter on the screen, she'll sing the next letter. So she's anticipating the next letter.
D, E, F, G, H, I, J.
So when we were designing Park Math, we did not think that 2-year-olds and the youngest children would be able to get the math in the app. But we did design each screen so that they could play with all the elements on the screen. So in this example, these are the ducks, and so she can make the ducks climb up onto the slide. And the surprising thing was that we found that because these interactions were so visual and very much like manipulating physical objects in the real world, which is how children come up with a number typically, we found that even the youngest children, like this 2-year-old in the next video, were able to grasp the math. So the fifth principle is that the magic is in the details. One key component of our design process is the iterative nature and the amount of refining that we do on an app. Because we're a small team, we're able to do our kid testing and then many times, and then go back to the drawing board, refine. Nikki will draw something else, Michael will code it and test it again. And so we are constantly refining, and it actually takes us a long time to launch an app. But we can enhance right up until the end. And so we refine all the details of every pixel, all the timing of all of the sound effects and the music. And but it's not only the small things that we end up refining. In WordWagon, for example, that app did not have a wagon until the last 2 weeks when we were actually doing a lot of our kid testing and we were getting home, as Warren was saying. So we added some critical components into that app late in the game. So now just to recap quickly, looking at the world through a child's eyes, designing apps that are high in child control, creating deep interactive experiences, focusing on play, and refining. So now that you've seen some examples of our typical customers, I wanted to end with a few examples of special needs children. We've had a recent interest from the special needs community, both families as well as teachers and therapists. And this has been somewhat of a surprise to us because, as you can see, we've designed apps for all children, and we don't have any apps that are researched and designed to address specific special needs, such as fine motor skills or communication skills, for example. But there are a whole segment of apps on the App Store that do that. But I thought it would be valuable to share some of these examples because I think they can apply to all of you who are designing for children. What we've learned is that by focusing on some of the principles that we've been talking about and by designing apps that are really child-centric, very easy to use and engaging for children, you have the opportunity to reach a lot of different niche populations as well. So in March, we had our 2 seconds of fame, literally 2 seconds, as we saw Wheels on the Bus flash by in Steve Jobs' keynote unveiling the iPad 2 in March. And it was shown, Wheels on the Bus was shown as an example of how the iPad can assist children with autism. Dr. Howard Shane, who is the physician who heads up the Autism Language Program at Children's Hospital in Boston, is using Wheels on the Bus in his center. And he said that the iPad clearly isn't a cure for autism, but it can assist children with autism. What he's found is that some children who are not able to play with toys and books because they weren't able to engage are able to engage on the iPad. So now I'll share some of the specific stories, some of the children's names, and our examples have been changed. So we spoke with a speech and language pathologist in the area who works with children, And she said that when she started using the iPad in her work, she immediately noticed that children were really motivated to work with her in order to use the iPad, and consequently she saw some dramatic changes in their speech. And I know we have some folks in the audience who are speech and language pathologists who would love to hear from them and their experiences as well. But this one gave us this example of using Old MacDonald with one of her students. I'll just quote her. She said, "This child had classic autism. He was very rigid, monotone, but he loved Old MacDonald. When he got to the duck cage and saw the ducks come out of the barn, he turned to me, looked right at me, and said in the most animated voice that I had ever heard, 'Hi, ducks!'" So this was huge for an autistic child who typically does not look at other people or speak. This fun interactive piece really engaged him. So this is an example of how looking at the world through the child's eyes really made a difference. And we designed this interaction with the barn doors opening by following a common play pattern, peekaboo, and knowing that children really like discovering that something that's hidden. This is Lola, who is 3 years old and autistic, and her mother wrote to us, "Duck Duck Moose apps were the first ones that we bought. Lola liked the music and funny noises. Hearing her laugh, one of the first times that we heard her laugh at something that was silly was when she was playing your app. She understood the humor." So this is an example of how the humor really drew her in. And this is Jack, who is 4 years old and cannot talk. His father said that before he would try to read books to Jack, but there was no way of engaging him. He would be running around the room, and his father was about to give up just because it was so hard to engage him. But he noticed that with the iPad, he really was able to engage. And for the first time, his father said that even though he can't express the learning that's going on, at least he can tell that there is some learning going on. And this boy is particularly drawn to music. And so when his father was talking to us about fish school, he said, he can sing the alphabet. If I try to sing to him, he will scream at me. It's overload for him if I ask him to do that. So apparently he can sing the alphabet even though he can't talk. I don't understand the neuroscience behind this, but apparently there are children who sing before they talk. And what drew him into fish school was the musical quality, but also the fact that we introduced the letters of the alphabet in an individual way. The schools of fish form the alphabet, but instead of speaking each letter, we sing each letter using the same pitch that's used in the alphabet song. So as you swipe through the different schools of fish, you can actually create the alphabet song. So it's really the music and sung letters that appealed to children. And so this is from a mother with a 4-year-old who has autism, and she said that her son was completely nonverbal before getting the iPad, but within a week of having the iPad, he started imitating and repeating a lot of things that he was hearing in the iPad. And so he would imitate things when using our apps. And she wrote, "When the mouse in Wordwagon says, 'awesome,' with his hands up in the air, he will throw up his hands in the air and say, 'awesome.'" So this is an example of how play is a child's work. He's learning by imitating and repeating. And to a young child, having a mouse speak to them is a really real thing. We've seen in a lot of our kid testing that children will look directly at the narrator in our apps, even though they're simple, and look for their feedback as they're doing different activities. And so as a last example, this is Grady, who's 3 and a half and autistic and nonverbal. His mother said, "Grady doesn't look at me in the eye and doesn't notice when I enter or leave the room." And for her, playing on the iPad has been about creating a connection with her son and being able to play with her son. She created this video for us to show us how they play together.
Hi, my name is Tara Othout, and I'm the proud mother to Grady.
Mom's going to finish spelling.
Having a child with autism, there's not a whole lot of opportunity for me to have joint attention or to play with my son. My son Grady is autistic and nonverbal, and when we discovered the iPad, a whole new world opened up to us. We were suddenly able to have joint attention, and I was suddenly able to play with my son in a whole new way. Duck Duck Moose was a whole new way for me to play and interact with my son, and I couldn't be more grateful to have this tool. As a mother with an autistic child, I'm constantly looking for ways to play with my son. Joint attention is very important, and I'm always looking for ways to be one-on-one with him. I love the interaction that I can have with my son, finally. After years of not being able to play with toys, I finally have a way to play with my son. Play with me, and I'm now able to play with him. Is this my son?
So as I mentioned earlier, I've shared these examples with you just to show that by designing software that is child-centric and really easy to use and engaging for children, you'll be able to reach and impact many children, even those with special needs. Thank you very much.